Do you remember back like 2 or 3 years ago when users who had questions about things would go to Google as their first stop? They would go to Google and they would put in a query and then they would get a list of links, right? Times they have changed. As we know, now we are in the world of generative AI. So the first thing that many users do is no longer going to Google, it's going to their favorite assistant and putting in a question. And so that really has changed the world of how to be found for subject matter experts. And that is a fantastic opportunity. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. My name is Erika Dickstein with Spring Insight. So let's talk today about what the change to generative AI means for subject matter experts. The stakes, I won't say they couldn't be higher, but what I will say is it really provides a great opportunity and a great risk for subject matter experts. So without generative AI optimization, there really is a risk of disappearing entirely from AI-driven discussions. And of course, for larger entities, for bigger organizations to leapfrog because they are putting in the effort. So one of the things that I hear very often is, but wait, Erica, you're always talking about generative AI optimization. Isn't it basically search engine optimization? Isn't it basically the same thing? And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is what is similar about the two things, and most importantly, what you need to know. So let's talk about it. What is similar between search engine optimization and generative AI optimization? Well, first of all, both need real content. They need clear, authoritative, and audience-focused content. So in both cases, it's very important that you in your website are providing real answers to questions that people who are visiting really have, and that you're providing value in those answers. So that's true across the board. Both reward consistency. Can't just every once in a while put up a blog post and think, wow, this is making a huge difference. You need a schedule. You need to very consistently and very intentionally create marketing that completes your story, that continues the story of who your organization is and how your organization helps and what your organization does for its potential clients. And in both cases, doing this kind of work is not a set it and forget it. You can't do search engine optimization or generative AI optimization in a day. You can't just set it up and say, well, okay, wow, we're done. No, this is a process. This is something that you're doing steadily over time. And now let's talk about how generative AI is different. And I want to start out first with the most important thing. And this is such a nuanced, it's such a nuanced detail. So let's talk it through. The goal of search engine optimization is different from the goal for generative AI optimization. So for search engine optimization, the goal is visibility. You want your site to come up and be visible, right? As one of the things that are offered when you do the search. On the other hand, for generative AI optimization, you want to be the answer, because people are asking questions, which we'll talk about in a second. People are asking questions. And so what you want is when somebody is asking a specific question that involves, hey, how do I find a vendor to help me with this? How do I find an accountant that specializes in this kind of work? How do I find a lawyer that can help me with this kind of issue? You want your organization to be the answer. You don't want just to be exposed. You want to be the answer to the question that they're asking. So that goes into this question of user behavior, right? User behavior for search engine optimization in Google is they're probably putting in a couple keywords. They might be putting in divorce attorney, whereas in generative AI, right, they're asking a very specific question of generative AI. I am looking for a divorce attorney in Montgomery County, Maryland, who has experience with complicated divorces involving custody issues, right? So you're doing a much more language based. It's probably more extensive, and it has more of natural intonation, the way that we speak. And so creating content, of course, then is going to need to reflect those things. So output is search engine optimization and generative AI optimization output different. Search engine optimization, right? What is the output? Group of links on the search engine results page for Google. Most likely Google. Yes, I know there are other search engines. They're so small that they aren't quite as relevant. On the other hand, for generative AI optimization, it's usually 2 to 5 recommended answers, and then with a little bit of a description, right? And so, and finally, how is generative AI optimization different? Signals of trust. So what do they trust? The first is backlinks for both of them, but also FAQs, right? Because remember, we talked about natural language questions. So it rewards FAQs, it rewards structured data. So making sure you have schema on your site, and visible expertise across platforms. They want to know that you are an expert so that when they recommend you, they know that you're going to, that you speak on this topic. You get it. What I want you to take away from this video is it's not search engine optimization or generative AI optimization. You know what? I'm going to prefer to do this. It really is both are going to need. So it's SEO plus. It's doing the basics of search engine optimization and layering on that additional work. You're not starting from scratch. You're refining, you're repurposing, and you're really enhancing the work that you are doing for search engine optimization, or starting if you haven't already. Thanks so much for joining me on this video. If this is a topic that you find interesting, please hope you will subscribe to our channel. We do a lot of content around generative AI optimization, and it's an area that we have a lot of interest. So, and if you're interested in learning more about Spring Insight, our company, and the work we do with generative AI optimization and how we can help your organization, please go to our website, springinsight.com, and sign up for a consultation or take our